Want to perfect your beauty skills? Look no further. URSM candidate Julian Rolox Jr. presents to you the opportunity to attend a free makeup class where you will learn the basics of makeup application with the young professional Miss Michaela Peterson. Spaces are limited. To join, register on October 14, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Julian Rolox Jr. headquarters on Arch Road in Sucker Garden. A goodie bag with supplies along with a certificate of completion will be presented at the end of the class. To participate, you must be 18 years or older and provide a valid form of identification. For more information, please contact 1721-588-1216. We encourage and empower young entrepreneurs.
My name is Julian Rolox Jr. and I endorse this message.
At SXM, we're taking travel and tourism to new heights. Here we boast spacious check-in areas, 10 passport control points, comfortable departure lounges, and an exciting new airport mall. Finally, there's an airport in the Caribbean that takes your travel plans as seriously as you do. Princess Juliana International Airport. The experience will move you.
Welcome to the Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. Andrew Dick here, and of course we continue to bring you what is happening on the latest in St. Martin. Of course, a lot is happening, and I must say that over the weekend, a lot has been happening, and I just need to remind people sometimes that social media is not a real thing. Life continues to be real outside of social media, and most of the time when we listen to the things that happen on social media, people tend to get swallowed into it. And I always like to bring the facts to you, the people, because it's important that during the election season that you're informed 100%, not 50%, not 75%, not being persuaded by bullies, but just informed. So, let me start off by the notion that if one person receives 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 votes, it automatically means that that person would become the dictator of St. Martin. Not true. Completely false. The way our electoral system works is that there is, 15 members of parliament up for re-election. Some are not going up for re-election, but 15 seats are available for the legislative elections that we have on January the 11th. That's one. Two, an individual person that received the highest vote getter, somebody bring in Doran. That means that they're just the highest vote getter, but they're part of a party. Not an individual, they're part of a party. In the case of Minister Doran, he's part of the National Alliance. So therefore, the National Alliance was the biggest party during the last elections. So, for this upcoming elections, you have to look at, yes, some people say you have to look at candidates, but it's also important that you look at the party of the candidate. Why I say that is because you can elect a person that's in the party, but that does not necessarily mean that they're the leader of the party or they are the decision maker of the party. Let me explain. So, if somebody out there endorses a candidate and the candidate receives X amount of votes, they then go to the negotiation table. No, that is completely false. Party leaders go to negotiation tables. So if you're going to endorse somebody, endorse a party or endorse a party leader, because they're the ones who would actually have negotiation power, because they're the one who's going to sit down with other political parties that received one or more seats in the elections. Many times we forget the electoral system that we have, so we get caught up in the hype of, you know, this individual thing whereby parties take somebody, they then get elected, the individual then doesn't agree with the party leader, and then they go independent. We've seen it year after year after year in every election that we've gone through. So, again, political parties are the one that you vote for elections. When everything is done, counted, the persons with the highest numbers are the ones that get elected to parliament. There's going to be 15 of them, not 20, not 100, not one, but 15. Those 15 now are part of a political party. The leaders of the political party will then go into a negotiation phase. A formateur or informateur is then selected, and most of the time is one of the leaders who has the most calmest demeanor. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the highest vote getter, but somebody who can, you know, sit down with everybody and nobody would have a problem with. And that's where the negotiation phase starts. And that's why most of the time, sometimes we get disappointed, whereby, you know, the parties that we think we voted out ended up having enough seats to just come back together and just continue governing. So, if you're going to go for a new political party, you have to also look at the other candidates on the political list and not only at one candidate, because that one candidate cannot govern alone. That one candidate can't even govern because they would be a parliamentarian. So they would go into parliament. And let's say, for example, if they're not part of the coalition that forms government, they wouldn't even have a say as to who is minister, who is going to govern the country. It would be the political parties that have the most seats. The leaders would then suggest persons to become minister. I hope that takes away from, you know, this whole one person going in and, you know, saving the whole system. It would be perfect in a perfect world, but in an electoral system that we have, you need a group. Now, of course, if one political party receives 8 seats out of the 15, that means that political party would have majority. But then that one person would have to have the same type of ideologies, the same type of plans, like the 7 other persons on his political party, in order for him to be effective and create a council of ministers, appoint a council of ministers that will do the bidding of what that one person promised you during the election campaign. You see how difficult it is? So, if you're not endorsing a political party or a political leader, and you're just going after a candidate, the candidate will then still have to go through his own party leader, his party members, and if he goes independent, he would still have to deal with other parties to form a government. Understand? I hope that's, you know, understandable so that you have the facts, because I'm hearing different stories the whole time, and it annoys the hell out of me because there is no one savior for St. Martin. There have to be saviors. It have to be a group, a collective group. And even if you become a parliamentarian, you still have to go through the ringer of having a group that will create a coalition, and they would have to have the same type of plans and fulfill the promises that they gave to you during the election campaign, and then actually pick ministers. If they don't go themselves as a minister, they would have to pick somebody to actually execute as a minister. You see? So it's a whole process that has to happen, and I don't want you to get caught up in the hype. Now, today they had a parliamentary meeting, and the parliamentary meeting had to do with the police officers and justice minister, the justice workers receiving their payment. Of course, it was at the governor sent it back. Then the governor wanted to make some changes. The ministry had to make some calculations. Let's fast forward 3.5 years. Sorry, 3.5 years later, we're still at the same position, which is tay ready yet. We far from ready, but we almost there. That make sense? No, it don't. Minister of Justice came and gave her presentation. National Alliance members showed up this time. And of course, the question becomes, when are the police officers, justice workers going to receive the monies that is due to them? According to the Minister of Justice, within the next 7 to 10 years. So we're going to make a payment plan because we don't have the money now. Of course, during an election year, that's crazy because nobody does that during an election year. But, you know, she's truthful.
I can't lie!
Now, what's interesting is that the Minister of Finance, for the amendments for 2023, he decided to couple the justice workers' monies and the ENYA loan together in one, and basically presented it to Parliament that if they vote for, that means the plan to pay the justice workers and also receive the ENYA liquidity loans from the Holland will take place. If they vote against, that means they're against the justice workers receiving the monies that is owed to them. Is it smart? No. Because of course, Parliament can make an amendment and just cut it in half, because justice workers is one thing, ENYA is a second thing. So let's see what happens next week when the meeting is actually called, a public meeting is called. You know, the commercial, the insurance commercial, this go like, you have to be quicker than that.
I got you $1. Oh, you almost had it. Oh, you almost had it. Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that. 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 You gotta be quicker than that.
You have to be quicker than that, Minister Atwell. It's a good try. It's a good try. All right. Let's take a commercial break. When we come back, of course, the Council of Ministers press briefing took place today. And of course, as always, much fun.
No, but MP Bryson, look, MP Bryson, this is exactly why I have confidence in you. You're a very intelligent young man. I know that from day one when I met you, which you know how that goes. Yep. And this is the level of discussion you need in Parliament, right, in those committees. I hope the audience and the people are listening. This is
Parliament right here would love nothing better than to say, let's allocate 10 million guilders towards helping our issues in social needs and so on. But how are we to do that when we have all of these conditions of, well, you can't get more liquidity, you need to cut, you need to do this. Many of us feel like we're in a position where we can't fully extend our ability to legislate.
But my decision is to stay where I'm at. At the end of the day, the way that MP Rolando Bryson leads, he allows me to work. He gives me that freedom to work. It's not always a phone call of pressure or do this, do that, don't do this, you know, and that's part of the reason that I'm able to produce.
Any of the difficulties that this government faces today, I didn't sit down, do nothing, and have my staff write press releases. No, I got up and asked myself from opposition benches, what can I do? So I read my constitution, the one I swore to uphold, which gives us the rights to bring laws, to bring amendments, interpellation rights, inquiry rights, So we asked ourselves the questions at the time. What have we done? Regardless of
He has represented this country qua what is expected of a parliamentarian professionally, and I can align myself with that.
simply gone through a very difficult economic time and are simply asking of the tax department an opportunity to have a payment plan. And it seems that this is really done kind of like if they feel like how you talk to them, you know, it's extreme.
St. Martin, we probably go far, and we know, search for a sign of a change. A Chino, you know it got days when you feel like a zero. I woke up this morning, but feel like Mark Mingo. Tomorrow be a better day. Respect is the key, education gon' matter, so don't you try to run away. St. Martin, the place where the food is good, the people is good, the music is good. We living like we on a road. They're trying to take us down, but I'm thinking could they really though? Misunderstood. Oh Lord, help us protect ourselves, help us look in ourselves. We're searching for what they call the fire that's in ourselves. I just want to see the best for my motherland. I just want the whole world here to understand that we came from the bottom of the sewer, now we heading way up, high up unto Wonderland. Opportunity is yours, so make it happen. Take an action, change.
Some of them even say it's the guns on one go, so they won't let me play, and they blaming polio. Do they think they could fool? All we know they better do fast. Polio or no polio, man we won, we mark. Mama when they hear, they go get the carnival. All masqueraders on here. Well they didn't care if it was official, but they start turning peace on the street. And they start to jump around, and they start to tumble down, and they fall down on the ground. Yes, they see how they did. But what was so comical in the midst of Bacchanal? Rain comes and wash out Martin Bay. Do they think they could fool? All we know they better do fast. Polio or no polio, man we won, we mark. Mama when they hear, they go get the carnival. All masquerade.
Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? Qu'est-ce que tu fais là? But sorry, no sir. They got this game tonight and I can't miss it. Me and my boy, we gotta watch the game, you know. So I bringing this in. You check? Alright, let me watch your leg go. Watch your leg.
Sir, sorry. Why so difficult? Look, I'm watching TV here on my phone with the Tell TV Plus app. You really gotta upgrade.
Okay, so miss, tell me about the Tell TV Plus. I hear about this.
Okay, so once you apply for Tell TV Plus, you can enjoy it anytime on the go.
Anytime?
Anytime.
On the go?
On the go. You simply download the app, log into your account at any time, sit back and enjoy. You will never have to miss your match.
Yo, bus driver, take me back to tell him now, please.
All right, welcome back to Late Night. Now, of course, the Council of Ministers press briefing took place today to close the island or not to close the island. That was a question over the week. It was eventually closed, and then we had sun, and then the government get costs for having the sun. Like, I swear to God, the government just get blamed for the sun, for the rain, For the potholes, okay, well, that's actually not their fault, but it's still their fault because they have to maintain it. Everybody is blaming this government for rain, for thunder, for mudslides, for what happens in Dominica. For every single little thing is this government's fault. No, whether it's true or not, I'll let you be the judge of that. But of course, here is your highlights of the Council of Ministers press briefing.
My question is for the Minister of Finance, and I'd also like to have an opinion from the Prime Minister regarding this question that I'm sending to the Minister of Finance. Minister Ardwell, last week you went to Parliament regarding the proposal from the Dutch government with the 600 million loan to bail out Enya. Minister, your faction leader and your coalition faction leader, they both expressed their disapproval for St. Martin accepting such a debt. They went as far as saying this is not a form of enslavement. We just got an apology for enslavement, but we are here again being pressured to take a loan for a private sector and put the people, taxpayers on St. Martin, give them a burden that they do not desire or request. Now that you've heard from Parliament, and I know you have to go back to Parliament to give your responses, what are your thoughts today? And of course, what the Council of Ministers decided on this matter?
Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to the team. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. And regarding the meeting from Enya last week, or yes, last week it was, I believe, I'm not too sure that was the statement by the faction leader in terms of disapproval. So I wanted to speak on behalf of them. They did share their concerns with how we got here. And I believe even our coalition partner, the leader of the UP, he also mentioned that as a government, you do what you have to do to protect the people, and that when it comes to Parliament and the budget, then they will then have further discussions and have the final decision there. In my position, it is finding, as I mentioned before in the last press briefing, it's finding the best possible deal with the current situation and be sure that we have tried our best to protect those policyholders, at the same time making sure that we have the best possible deal for the refinancing also. In regards to the agreement, we have what we call the Hoofdlijn Accord and headline agreement, I think, if I make a direct translation, that has, my cabinet has put an advice together that was supposed to be in Calm yesterday, but due to the storm, that has been delayed until tomorrow. So that agreement is up for discussion in the Council of Ministers tomorrow, and once approved, we'll proceed onward.
Have you taken the proposal made by Bryson as the way forward?
So again, there were many different queries and suggestions. A lot of these suggestions and queries that members of Parliament brought forward were also things that we brought forward already in the negotiations and discussions and possibilities of getting them done. So again, in answering in Parliament, we'll be able to go deeper into what is and what is not feasible. But I would basically say that 99% of all suggestions from Parliament were included in discussions.
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Bibi. I would now like to Prime Minister. Prime Minister Jacobs has to add to that question as well.
Yes, as Minister mentioned, the Ministry of Finance has been leading in these negotiations and discussions and has looked at all the other options. So really and truly, the main problem or the main challenge for us is ensuring that those 10-10-23 loans do not become due, which would put a heavier burden on the people of St. Martin. And it was with that in mind that we are doing what we can to get the most favorable conditions. As such, the ministry has negotiated, and this is the best that we were able to come up with. And we have room thereafter to further discuss how things would be done, especially as it relates to COVID loans, which is a bigger challenge for us at this time. Of course, we're never happy when conditions are put on things that are, for us, unrelated, but the Enya situation did have the attention of government prior to it becoming a condition in terms of seeking solutions for our pension holders, because at the end of the day, it would become a burden for government regardless. So we have to ensure that we can secure the fund for those pensioners and ensure that we can move forward. This is the best offer on the table, and the Ministry of Finance has done their utmost in that negotiation as such. So we look forward to being able to move forward from here. Parliament has their say in approving the budget, and then we will see where we go from there.
So one of the proposals that came out of that meeting is that government should not accept this loan and that it should actually be given to Enya via the Central Bank of Curacao and St. Martin. I would like to know, is this something that came up in the negotiations? And if so, what specifically was the response to that proposal from the Dutch government? And this is a question I had asked the Prime Minister some months back. You were not here, and it was on the whole issue of Mullet Bay. The central bank had indicated that it would go on the market. Is this something that government has discussed, that, is it something that we're interested in buying if it does go on the market, for the people of St. Martin? Any discussions on that? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Regarding the possibility of having money loaned from the Netherlands to an entity, yes, that was a discussion that did come up in negotiations. And basically, for lack of better words, the Netherlands indicated that they don't borrow money to foreign entities, foreign companies. They borrow money to countries. So that's one of the very first proposals that we did propose on the table on given the opportunity to, we will service the debt, but then the loan burden becomes that of the entity. So again, this is a very long negotiation, and we've discussed all other possibilities to ensure that we have the least possible effects on our long-term investment plans. In addition to that, still taking in mind that we want a solution for the policyholders. That is just not I don't necessarily agree that we just shouldn't care about these policyholders. Even though, and because you also, both of the media houses referenced that loaning 600 million guilders, I want to be very clear that that 600 million is not St. Martin, because we keep on putting that in light of St. Martin, and I think it's very confusing to the public. The total amount to Enya is that, but St. Martin's portion is 10%, on average about close to 10%. In addition to that, the big concern is that, especially for Curacao, is that Enya is, the policyholders represent about 1/6 of the population. So that's a huge amount of persons that significantly can impact the country socially. And that's not even accounting to the families. So if you have policyholders that represent 1/6 of a population, only accounting for one individual, right? That person will probably have a husband or a wife and kids. So the social impact of not finding a solution there is even more significant than here. But even though we will also have a significant impact. And some other let's say relevant information is that when we look at our data, our policyholders are a little bit younger than those of Curacao, whereas those of Curacao are they're going to fall into that bracket of being getting their pension way earlier than ours. So our risk overall was a lot less than that of Curacao, but at the end of the day, we have to take all precautions and be prepared. Regarding the, I believe, purchase of Malaby, these are also discussions that actually I brought to the COM in the last couple of weeks also, and it isn't as what's the word, as easy as that may be, right? The idea of taking on Malaby is another additional depth. First, we have to have the final conclusion of what it is actually valued at, and it then requires also a long-term plan of immediately investing, because now as a country take on another debt to develop and so forth, which is basically in essence the same thing that the EC, the holding route down that has Malaby, also is doing. So they are not working outside of St. Martin, and we had multiple council ministers meeting where they have to keep us involved in any decision making. So We want Malawi developed. We want to see it back to its glory days, even though I didn't get to experience it myself, maybe. So I don't know what those glory days actually are, but I've heard a lot of stories about them. And this will be in connection with the Council of Ministers. It's not that they're just independently making decisions without the Council of Ministers knowing. And we had a very, very strong meeting and firm discussions on this, that you cannot operate outside of St. Martin when it comes to Malawi. So I think I answered both of those questions.
Yes, I do have a follow-up.
He has a follow-up?
Yes. Now, one of the whole concerns in this whole thing is that it appears as though the central bank has failed in its supervisory role, because you have the Hero Bank issue, and now you have the Enya issue, and technically yourself and the finance minister of Curacao, you guys are the bosses of the central bank. So what sort of measures would be put in place for the central bank, to be held responsible, if for lack of a better word, for its failure to supervise, properly supervise Enya?
So I think that one of those key areas was actually having a new board. Because this process didn't happen in my term. This is us again dealing with something that happened in the past, which required stronger supervision, looking at board members, looking also at the director, right? So the person actually making the decisions. So I think between then and now, supervision has increased, and also increased accountability.
Minister of Finance again. Minister Irian. I think the Justice Minister, she's in Parliament this morning discussing the payout for the police officers and how this would go forward. The Justice Minister is suggesting that this payment be made in a period of 10 years. Minister, some police officers already say that they are refusing this because some of them might die out before that 10-year period is up. And I'd like to know exactly what happened to the initial proposal of between 3 to 5 years. Minister, you also stated prior, I cannot remember the date, but you also stated that the 2024 budget has a 40 million surplus. Can you tell me if this is a budget projection, or is it liquid cash we have available?
Sorry, can you just be a little more, because we had two different topics. Can you say that again, please?
The first one, I'm asking about the payout for the police officers with the justice.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm also asking you...
But what specifically? I also want to be clear on that.
The proposal to pay the police officers within a 10-year span. I'm asking that what happened to the initial proposal of making the payout between 3 to 5 years? And I'm also indicating that the police officers are also rejecting the fact that they do not want to wait 10 years to get their payout because some of them might die out by then. They even indicated that they saw this happening in the CCSU meeting, but there they didn't have a vote. They didn't have a say. They just witnessed what was discussed. And then I'm also asking you...
Let me just answer that question again and then go on to the next. Regarding the CCS meeting you're referring to, I'm not too aware of that. And maybe I'll say maybe on our part, and I'll have to talk to the Minister of Justice on this, on maybe communication, because I know that in our discussions and communication that went out, and I'm pretty sure the Minister of Justice also said this a few times, that everyone isn't in the 10-year bracket. So it depends on the scale and the amount that you are owed, that it'll be broken down. So the max payout will be 10 years, and there's some persons that will get paid in 3 years. So it's depending on the scale, the amount that is owed to you. So I'll make that very clear again. I'm pretty sure, again, it has been said. So I really don't want to have a confusion. I don't want to leave here today and say that it's a 10-year period, because that has been communicated consistently. And I'll say it again, 10 years is for the largest amounts, right? Payout, and the largest amount, the scale. I believe there's one other item, and there are persons who probably will be paid out. There are persons that just became, let's say, officers or working in the justice system a year or two before this issue became a topic, right? So they might be able to get paid out in 2 years or 3 years. So I don't have, let's say, the formation in front of me of who and when they get paid out, but I know it's a tiered approach going forward. That was all for justice, I believe, right? Yes.
And then BB, your next question.
Other question was regarding what you stated earlier. I can't remember how long ago, but you did say that there is a 40 million surplus in the 2024 budget. I'm asking you if this is a budget projection.
Which one? 2024?
Yes, there's a 40 million surplus in the budget. Asking if this is a budget projection or is it a liquid cash? If I'm not sure on 2024, it's 2023.
No, so neither. So I have never said that, to be honest. So if you could find footage of me saying that, I'll owe you lunch. Okay. So I haven't said that, and I think maybe you're confusing it with the letter from the CFT. Where CFT mentioned that the projections for the government looks more positive, so that's their article. And specifically in that article, they also mentioned that the Minister of Finance is a little bit more pessimistic than them. So in their article, they said we look on track for 15 to 20, and I said, in their response, they said that I said more along the lines of 2 million guilders surplus. So it was a discrepancy that, yes, we'll be in the surplus. They were a lot more optimistic, which is, the opposite of the last few years of CFT, I guess. And I was being more like how CFT normally is. I was a little bit more pessimistic in terms of the projections, but I've never mentioned 40 million guilders surplus ever.
It's been quite a while before since we've heard anything about the request for proposal for marijuana that done some time back. Can you kindly update us on that? And currently, there is quite a lot of concerns out there regarding the national health insurance. And I would like to ask if you can probably give an insight as to what sort of financial obligations would be required from employers and employees. So the premiums that is different from what they're currently paying now. So what would be the difference in what people are obligated to pay now and what they would be obligated to pay under the NHI? And also,
BB will allow Minister Otley to answer those questions. Minister?
That's just one.
That was two.
Oh.
Two. Okay, Minister will allow you to do your 3 questions. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. And if also, Minister, in a nutshell, you can just give us an indication as to what are some of the major changes that can be expected under the NHI that is different from what is being offered currently under the SZV. And thank you for accepting my other question.
No problem. Thank you. As it pertains to the cannabis, the legislation, it has been presented to the Council of Ministers. We will then move forward. We need the Gazetting Way, which is our legal department, to then review and draft an agreement with whatever company is selected. Okay, once Gazetting Way does this, the company will be responsible for assisting justice, VSA, finance, basically the entire ministry with their legislation. So that is what the RFP was, to see what would be needed, have stakeholder studies, interview the churches, the schools, and get deal with our legislation. As far as justice, the decriminalization, all of that aspects, the company would pay for. Okay. As it pertains to the Sustainable Affordable Healthcare Act, formerly known as GHI or NHI, okay. Sustainable Affordable Healthcare Act, I would like to invite everyone that is viewing and listening to tune into Parliament. I'll be in Parliament tomorrow at 10 a.m. for urgent public meeting on this matter. So I want to invite everyone, and there I will divulge everything to you. And then I know normally when I do a great presentation, you often reach out for my presentation. So I'll send it to you directly so you can publish it to avoid any miscommunication.
So we can get an exclusive here?
Oh, so I would like to also make one correction as it pertains to the RFP, the cannabis. The RFP has been presented to COM, not the legislation. And as I stated, the company that is selected will then assist with the legislation. And of course, it has to go to Parliament and everything to pass. So just wanted to clarify that. And as when it pertains to the Sustainable Affordable Healthcare Act, I would just like everyone to tune into Parliament, and then because we're really going to go in depth, and I know the MPs are going to have great questions, and we can answer it.
Okay, just one quick follow-up regarding the RFP. Who is the company selected?
There's actually two companies that made it. I can't remember the name off the top, but I can send it to you in writing. I'll be glad. I don't have no reason not to send it to you, but I can't remember the name off the top. But however, the committee that was formed did a system and interviewed each company, and then the top two companies and the entire selection was presented to come for choosing. But I would send it to you, and of course, Ms. Shah, who's here, then even though she didn't ask, I'll send it to her as well in writing.
Minister Irian, regarding the question that Bibi asked on the COLA, can you specify what amount people can expect? And my question is for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, sometime back you had mentioned that the process is being finalized for the appointment of a deputy governor. We are in the peak of the hurricane seasons. Emergencies can happen if the governor is away or ill or something. These things need to be signed. So what stage are we at currently with the appointment of the governor? Who is the candidate? And also, GEBE, Prime Minister. Can you update us on what is the status of the input of clients' information? I know the last time you said it was 25% info that had to be inputted. And with all that's happening currently, is GB has it been able to, and has it been keeping up with the payments to its financiers? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. Minister Irian.
Thank you for your question. Regarding the COLA, like I mentioned, we're busy, negotiating items. And I would prefer that, out of respect for the negotiations, that we, after the next week meeting, that we then mention. Not that I, outside the negotiations, mention any figures or numbers, but a lot of opportunity for the team to together mention that we have finalized the process and what it is. But that'll be soon.
Thank you, Minister Irian. Prime Minister Jacobs.
In your asking the GB question, I missed the first part. What was the first question?
So you had indicated some time back that GEBE...
Prior to the GB question.
Prior to the GB question.
Did you have something for me? Yes.
I asked about the appointment of the acting
Right.
governor and who the candidate is.
Correct. So let me start with that. The process on our end was finalized, the necessary vetting that needed to take place, but of course it needs to go to the Kingdom Council of Ministers, etc. So it wasn't able to be handled in last week. I believe the last meeting was on the 30th of the Kingdom Council of Ministers. It wasn't finalized in time to get there. They need a 3 weeks lead for certain decisions. So it will be in the next Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting, after which then only then can we finalize the process. So we're at the ending gate, so to speak. But at no point are urgent decisions delayed. Even if the governor has to be off island, we have let's say, a protocol in place to be able to get approvals, etc. Because, thankfully, COVID has taught us how to work virtually. So at no point is the operations of government in any type of jeopardy. As it relates to NVGEBE, I can update that they are progressing. I don't want to say any numbers as to how far they are now, but they're closer than they were when I mentioned 25% still needed to be done. They're closer. I'm going to leave them to divulge their percentages, but they're definitely closer. And hopefully in the coming month or two, we can see it being wrapped up. We have not received any updates or reports that they are lagging behind in dealing with their obligations financially, and I will have them put out the communication regarding any of that directly as well. I will ask them to do that as the chair of the Council of Ministers. However, I would like to encourage persons to, make use of the opportunities that have been put forward for payment arrangements and the like, to ensure that they remain viable and that we can continue to enjoy electricity as a community.
Just one quick follow-up, Prime Minister. Are we to expect the first female deputy governor?
The official announcements will be made when the trajectory for the appointment of the new acting governor is finalized.
Minister, based on what I know and what I asked you prior, SZV, their financials have not been approved. How do they intend to construct or finance the new building they are planning in Cahill?
So as stated before, when we discussed the financials from SWAB, from SZB, their financials will be approved. Their previous financials were approved. So if you're talking the new ones, I think 2023, 2022. Yeah, 2022, I think it's now at the ministry, I think at the SG level, and then it'll be brought up. So it will be in time, in due time.
All right. Now, before we go, one last thing. Now, over the weekend, I received a voice note that was amazing. It kind of brought back the same thing what I was telling you in the beginning of the show, which is just go according to, vote according to person's accomplishments, person's, ability, instead of, person just telling you what to do. Because I don't believe St. Martin people are sheep. Most are ignorant, but I wouldn't say they're sheep completely. Because when it gets closer to elections, you finally get information on the accomplishments or the non-accomplishments of our politicians. When I heard this voice note, I really said to myself, you know what, I agree completely with it. And I think it's going to be, this should be the baseline of a voter in St. Martin. Take a listen.
You must learn to shut your mouth and stop talking about the people and leave the people alone, man. Leave the people alone. Right upon the people in case of leave the people alone. Study what you go do and study the man that you go put inside of it. Stop study the people in them. Study that, they stop study the people in them, and you upon the people them call them crab and call them this and call them that. You don't like anybody call you crab and jackass and everything. You won't like nobody call you them kind of name. So where you call the people in them kind of name. Stick on where you know best and stop calling people them name, man. I dey follow your program straight, but you start to get off. You start to get off course now. You start to shift off course. Stop talk about the people and them. Stop calling the people and them names. You have a man where you want to bring inside the politics. I hope he clean. I hope he clean and he good. And Hannah running with the law. Hope he clean. And not make you look embarrassed in the end. Just what you talk about it about money, they to make money, they to make so people life are not important. Nobody life important, always doing making money. The woman right for clothes on the country and me give she 100 right to do that. Clothes on the goddamn country, you know, close it down. Cause one day money making, what you think it is? You can last 15 life or 20 life, you can't get back that, but you can get back money. Anytime you want money, you can get money. So why they talk about money, people and they're stupid, the people and they're stupid, they stop calling the people and they're stupid. Because to me, you more stupid than the people in that inside. Because if you're more stupid than them, you wouldn't call them stupid. I must stop that. This country now, you know what you should have named this country? Pull-down society. That's all I do. It's a pull-down people, pull-down society. Stop it, man. If you want to talk about the election, talk about the election, what you go do for the people and them. Why you go do for the people and them? That's why they like to know. Why you go do for the people and them. That is the thing I like to know. Why you go do? You say you have all your millions and all your this and all your that. Well, put your money where your mouth is, man. Put your money where your mouth is. And stop pull down the people and them, man. I don't care who like it or who don't like it. Just so you just call St. Martin people stupid. And look how the people in there that follow you. You they call them stupid. And they still follow behind you. You yourself are calling stupid. I must stop that, man.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, I don't got time to waste time. This is something for the development of St. Martin. If you don't like it, remove yourself from this room. In this chat room is only those that's going to support the movement, that is moving forward with the movement. Any flies, any subject matter that comes in there, we're going to remove you, just like I remove that person that is telling me leave the people alone. This is a hyper disrespect, you see. People can come from all over the world, open them up big in my country and tell me what to do in my country. This is why we need to deport them and get rid of them when they open them up big. This is what I'm saying to you see. So you come to my land, where my people is suffering, where my people don't have opportunities, and then you're going to tell me to leave the National Alliance people alone, leave Omar Ali alone, because what? You have a Dutch passport and you can vote? No. It's either you're with us or you're against us. And those that are against us, they can go. If you're against us, leave. If you're with us, build with us. But if you're against us, leave.
Now, of course, the big bully in the group didn't like it. So they removed the person, and all of a sudden the person became a foreigner and should go back to where they come from because, you know, they're voicing their opinion. I tell you already, you know, all you got to watch out for Fidel Castro. He had a name for me in his many WhatsApp videos, and my name for him is going to be Videl. Anyway, thank you for watching Late Night Show. Of course, tomorrow we shall be back. Have a good one. Bye-bye.